Hey, this is Jeff. Welcome back to Coito Ergo Sum. Let's talk more action, a series which needs to think long and hard about making some New Year's resolutions. Long and hard. Last week we hired Rondo, the last pro for positions available, but the quest isn't actually complete until Leah has her baby. And while it seems like the main quest is done, because we completed the mechanic and Coito Ergo Sum the week before, at some point we'll get an unexpected email and realize the story with Fresca and Handy is far from over. I'm going to head back to the house to sort loot and get some food, water, and sleep, and then we can recruit magazine models until we get that email.
I like what you've done with the place. How's the bed?
It's nice, big, comfortable.
In that case, let's go check it out.
I like the sound of that.
I thought you might. Let's go.
Sweet. Must have picked up some relationship points sometime in the last 2 weeks, because this is the big moment with Kekata. I like the fact that, unlike a lot of romanceable characters, she takes the initiative. Your lover is waiting for you to come to bed. It would be a real dick move to agree and then just go to sleep, but we'll not do that. Let's make love. Now, I hope this doesn't seem too unromantic, but the important thing is, did sleeping with her reset my sleep meter? No. Presumably because we weren't actually sleeping. And I don't have the well-rested bonus either. Sweetheart, you wore me out. I hope you don't mind if I go back to sleep for a couple of hours. Typical guy. All right, let's get a drink, raid the fridge, and go shoot some models. First up is going to be Leah, because I don't want to forget about it until it's too late. The clock's ticking with her, because once she has her baby, she immediately goes back to California, just like she said she was going to do. How long it takes is actually random. I think it can be anywhere from about a week to maybe 3 weeks, and she has excellent bonuses for the magazine and movies. The magazine's no problem, but there are certain events that still have to happen before we can make movies, and if her baby comes sooner than expected, the window of time that we can shoot a movie can be pretty short.
Hello, doctor. How's the patient?
You tell me, how do you feel?
Let's see. I have morning sickness, my back aches, my breasts are sore. Oh, and my knees are killing me. In fact, it would probably be more efficient just to list what doesn't hurt. Forearms are good, earlobes are all right. That's about it.
Medicine skill can give her an examination and determine you and your baby are in perfect health.
That's good to hear. Thanks, Doc.
As long as you're here, why don't you pose for Lollipops magazine?
I think not.
There's no stigma. Politicians and entrepreneurs used the magazine as a bully pulpit for centuries.
A year ago, I'd have considered it. But at the moment, publicity is number 3 on the top 10 list of things I intend to avoid.
So what are the top 2? Radiation and cigarettes? Anyway, I won't publish it until you return to California. And after that, it's proof you have nothing to hide. Literally.
Yes, the board will tut-tut about my executive image, and the tabloids will go berserk. But the competition will think trying to embarrass or blackmail a shameless Jezebel like me It's totally futile. Very devious. Even Daddy would be proud. All right, I'll do it. Don't expect any splits, though.
So, full disclosure, I made a little plug-in that gives her the nightie she wears during video rehearsals as a first half outfit for the photo shoot. In the last walkthrough, you just had to take my word for it that she was, I think I said, very pregnant and very naked, because by default she just strips down to her birthday suit immediately, and unfortunately a digital blur big enough to censor all the parts that need to be censored also covers her belly. This way you can actually see she is indeed very pregnant. Not that I have a big pregnancy fetish, it's just a cool detail for one 30-second scenario. Seems like it would have been easier just to have her say no. Okay. Your Pip-Boy notifies you that a priority message has been sent to Hilly's email from an unspecified remote terminal on the Lollipops network. That kicks off the next part of the main story, so we'll read it as soon as we're done here. Okay, so the pregnant body is used again if she's in a video, and for her magazine cover, so it isn't just used for the photo shoot, but still. Anyway, let's go check on that email. Hilly's email. Tips about the pros we already hired, one potential saloon upgrade I'm not doing yet, and one priority message. Hilly, the tunnel is clear between Lollipop's Blue Diamond and Death Valley South. If the handler is still there, can you ask her to meet me at Slater Mansion? If not, I'm sure you know someone who understands electronics and wants to earn a few caps repairing a comm system. And that starts the quest, A Cure for All Ills Part 1. And since they specifically requested the handler,
Bonjour.
Brett, let's take her along.
Yes?
She wasn't available during the last walkthrough, and I don't think having her with you actually makes any difference, but why not? Come with me.
It would be my pleasure, Master.
Now, we unlocked remote train dispatch when we were in the maintenance facility, and I know we can call it to the Pahrump station with the terminal in my house, so I'm hoping we can call it here with this one, yeah? Call train to Lollipop Station. We could fast travel to the mansion, which might be slightly faster in real time, but taking the train is much faster in game time, so this will be a lot easier on my dehydration meter. All aboard! Death Valley South Station. And here we are. Everybody make it? Well, the stag might have fallen onto the tracks, but he regenerates. In fact, I don't take them with me very often, but if you watch closely in combat, you can actually see his health bar fill back up. It's not really explained, but he must have some kind of self-repair protocol. And it's not some 1 hit point per second thing. Yeah, he heals damage faster than most enemies can dish it out, which is one of the main things that makes him so tough. Unless he gets swarmed by multiple enemies with high DPS weapons, he's pretty much invincible, even on very hard difficulty. I think I mentioned before, one of the only 2 times I ever saw him get killed was in the Lucky 38. He got cornered by Securitrons. And the other thing we'll see later in this quest. So we're finally going to meet the mysterious guy who came to New Vegas with Handy, and I was nice to him the last time I talked to him, in no small part because I had actually killed Handy to give Fresca her body, and I didn't know how he'd react. So I'll take the skeptical options when I talk to him this time. I mean, people in New Vegas think California, Arizona, Utah are these distant realms, so the idea that this guy came from DC would seem pretty far-fetched. Even though Hilly doesn't believe him, and almost everything Hilly says is seriously distorted, so I think that's kind of a hint that this guy's telling the truth. Anyway.
I'm Dan. Are you here about the comm system repairs?
If I fix the comm system, who do you think you're going to talk to?
In theory, any Lollipops facility with a working satellite uplink. In practice, I just want to reach the club in DC. The equipment here mostly works, but some fuses are blown. I don't have replacements, and I don't know enough about electronics to jury-rig it.
Let me guess. Larry Slater himself is waiting for you to call.
I'm sure he's not expecting it, but he can put me in touch with my family. I haven't seen them in a long time.
You're delusional. Larry Slater was executed 200 years ago.
They wanted to, but he got away. My mom worked for him. He considers himself a friend of the family.
Ha ha, your mom's a whore.
She was, God rest her soul. And I figured out by the time I was 10 that if it's true, it's not really an insult.
I assume she died of some STD or an overdose, unless a violent customer did her in.
They actually treated her quite well, all things considered. She died of a rare genetic disorder called de Leon syndrome.
A friend of mine has de Leon syndrome. Doesn't seem that bad. In fact, she never ages.
No, that's an illusion. When you have it, you don't age on the outside, but inside, you age a lot faster than normal.
You said it's genetic. No offense, but it looks like you're aging normally.
I'm a carrier. Mom had it, one of my daughters has it, but I don't have any symptoms. If I did, I'd probably be dead already.
The internal organs shut down prematurely? How long does that take?
Mom lived into her 60s, but she got therapy from a fantastic doctor. Untreated, most people die before they reach 40.
What kind of therapy?
Exercise, diet, drugs, medical implants. But that's all obsolete. There's a real cure now. Mom was just too far gone when they developed it.
If I fix the comm system, could someone there give me the formula for the cure?
Yes, I'm sure they would. You need to restore power to the comm interface and the uplink dish on the roof. I have Larry's access codes, so I can unlock the hatch from here.
If you know a lot about adult entertainment, I want to pick your brain.
Sorry, I don't. But if you get the comm system working, you can talk to some people who do.
You seem to use Lollipop's waypoints, but I didn't see you the last time I was here.
I was scouting. I wanted to take the tunnel all the way to the hub, but it's blocked. Fortunately, the worst part of the desert is north of here. Junktown's due west, and I shouldn't have much trouble getting to Lost Hills from there.
For a guy from D.C., you know a lot about local geography.
Larry made me a map of all the Lollipop's facilities he could remember. He used pre-war names, though, so there's some translation required. The Citadel's maps of the West Coast are only 25 years out of date, but they only show places they controlled or considered a significant threat. It's been a challenge, but I've managed so far.
Larry Slater ran Lollipops 200 years ago. How can he still be alive?
He's a ghoul. Voltel, the trial, the Great War, his escape, it's all tied together somehow, but I don't know the details. What I do know is he treated Mom well, he donates his profits to medical research, and he financed my mission when the Brotherhood couldn't. So, as zombie pimps go, he's a pretty good guy.
I take it Lollipops is still in business on the East Coast. What's it like?
Dancers, prostitutes, porno magazines, about what you'd expect.
Enough about Lollipops.
Yeah, like I said, you should talk to Larry if you want to know more. He's the real expert.
I understand you're looking for the Brotherhood of Steel.
I don't suppose they'd have told you that if you couldn't be trusted. Yes, that's right.
Why are you trying to find them?
The Brotherhood back home is divided. There are open hostilities. They wouldn't even join forces to fight the Enclave, if that tells you anything. My daughter's a scribe in one of the factions. Her superiors can't resolve the situation. I intend to get new orders from Central Command.
If you're still looking, I assume you haven't had much luck.
I found a number of outposts between DC and here, but none of them have any contact with the command at Lost Hills.
They're probably maintaining radio silence to avoid detection.
That would make sense. I'll just need to make contact in person then.
There's a Brotherhood bunker in Hidden Valley. I could give you the location.
I've been there. They weren't very helpful, but I appreciate the offer. Thanks.
I have to say, I'm impressed.
I'm not sure why, but thanks.
You walked here from D.C. That's what, 2,500 miles or something like that?
I occasionally met groups kind enough to provide transportation through their territory, but I did go through a few pairs of boots.
You had no idea how long crossing the whole country might take. By now, the conflict might be over.
I was hoping to find an outpost with a comm link. Worst case, I figured a round trip to Lost Hills and back would take 9 months, a year tops. Turns out that was a bit optimistic. It took 2 years just to reach New Vegas.
The Brotherhood is paranoid. I'm surprised they didn't shoot you for poking around.
They gave me a field commission and trained me on their IFF protocols. They do love their protocols.
All that to deliver a message. The courier service could use a man like you, since I don't do much for them lately.
Thanks, but as soon as I make contact, I'm heading home. I've been away far too long already.
Enough about the Brotherhood.
All right.
May I ask you something about Handy?
The handler? I guess, sure.
How well do you know her? Are you close?
We traveled 1,500 miles together, and I never did really understand her. If by close you mean did I sleep with her, no. I'm married, and even if I weren't, she's not really my type.
Were you aware that she's an android?
Really? No, but that would explain a lot.
Why did you leave her behind?
It was time. We met in East St. Louis. We were both trying to steal the same boat to avoid the same people. We got away with it, and she decided to stay with me. I think she was more interested in my connection to lollipops than the extra gun. The farther west we got, the more obsessed she became with Fresca Koi. When we reached Blue Diamond, she found what she was looking for. That was it.
Enough about Handy.
Right. Anything else?
Nope. I'll see what I can do about the comm system.
Okay, I'll stay here in case there are any problems when the power comes back on.
The first of 3 things we need to fix is right over here. Communications interface. The communication interface is receiving power but is not operating due to a blown fuse. You could install a replacement fuse, improvise one with Science 100 and scrap electronics, or rig a bypass with Repair 100 and scrap metal. I don't have any of the parts I could use, so leave it alone.
Handler?
Dan.
Not exactly a joyous reunion, but they seem like they were more allies than friends. I don't know if the little utility room has anything we need. Toolbox. Yep, scrap electronics. None of the fuses are in the mansion, and you technically don't need them unless you don't meet the science or repair requirements, which are really high, so I guess I'd better show you where they are just in case. We can improvise a fuse with Science 100 and scrap electronics. And the first component is done. The other 2 are on the roof. Go up to the 2nd floor. We saw the hatch to the roof in episode 7, but it couldn't be opened until Dan just unlocked it. On the roof, we have a solar panel array, which is powering the house, but not the satellite dish. This control box needs a fuse, or it can be jury-rigged, like the comm interface downstairs. And exactly the same thing over here with the satellite dish. Well, actually, the control box beside the satellite dish. Yep, same requirements. So, let's go get the fuses. Long story short, they're in the maintenance shed near Ichabod's home in Pahrump. If you have a completionist streak, you might have picked them up the first time you went there, but if not, there's no plot-related hint that's where they are, and if you have a mod that disables quest markers, good luck finding them. Nice view of the pool. Yeah, that's definitely where the picture on the Help Wanted posters was taken. Anyway, the quest marker is also kind of confusing because it points you back to the subway station instead of directly to Pahrump, and that is the way I'm going to go because taking the train is actually faster than fast traveling, so I wouldn't get as dehydrated. I don't think you can jump over this railing, and jumping off the roof might hurt, so that's probably for the best. So much like the terminal entries in Larry's office, a lot of what Dan just told us about his mother, his daughter, DeLeon syndrome, Valdell, lollipops, Larry, all that DC stuff, are references to Quo Vadis. Dan had a very small part in that, but his mother was a principal character, and while I've come to terms with the fact that canonically she's dead, I mean, it was clear even then she was living on borrowed time, and New Vegas is set 4 years after Fallout 3, but it's still kind of sad, because she was flawed but really likable. It's been a while since I made a shameless plug for one of my other series, so if you didn't play Quo Vadis, you can certainly check out the walkthrough of Quo Vadis here on Belthan's channel. Now, all the stuff about his mission, meeting the handler, and their journey to New Vegas is all backstory that took place between the two chapters. Yeah, I'm thinking about what Dan just said, that Handy's not his type, and it was no big deal when she stayed at Lollipops to look for clues about Fresca. And when we talked to her about him, she said he's competent, but doesn't have much imagination. So when Hilly said Dan got weepy before he unlocked the tunnel, I think Hilly was either exaggerating or just not getting it. But interpersonal relationships aren't really Hilly's strong suit. Anyway, the problem with the quest marker pointing to the train is that you don't know which destination to pick. I mean, there are only two choices, and if you go to the wrong one, it'll be pretty obvious right away, but it would still be more intuitive if the marker was just, on the shed in Pahrump itself. Kinda nitpicking, but I like it when quest objectives are something you could figure out yourself from clues in dialogue, or terminal notes, or just in the environment. Even if there was just a note from Larry or Stoney to their engineers like, you guys are spending too much money, and the engineers said, well, we could use standardized parts and materials from a single vendor, then at least it would narrow down the search to facilities that Larry owned. Yeah, a little bit of the day job creeping into the video there. Sorry. The fuses are on the shelf. I think there are also some in one of the toolboxes. Ooh, vacuum tube for Coyote. Cool. I think they actually spawn in the toolbox when you talk to Dan, so even if you picked up the others and sold them because you didn't know what they were for, you could still complete the objective. And they're not marked as quest items, so you can sell them or drop them or whatever. I guess if you sold them now, you'd just have to level up your science skill or repair skill until you could do it the other way. So, back on the roof, go over to the control box. Replace the fuse. One fuse removed. Go over to the satellite dish. Replace the fuse. One fuse removed. And the objective is completed. The comm system should be working now.
It is, but there's some kind of interference jamming the uplink. Looks like it's coming from the airport.
Let me see what I can do about the interference.
Great. I'll establish a satellite link as soon as it clears up.
The interference is coming from some equipment in the hangar, and there are some giant ants on the runway, including one huge, unique one. They will aggro if you get too close, but I don't see any reason to pick a fight if I don't have to. Live and let live. But if the stag sees them, there will be a fight, so I'm going to tell these guys to stay here so I can sneak in alone.
The stag is eager for action. If you're gone more than a day or two, it could become restless and difficult to control.
No problem. I'm only going to be gone a few minutes. Oh, they're right over there. Yeah, the giant ants in this game are big, but that's a giant ant. And I know it looks like it's coming right for us, but it doesn't see us yet, so I'm just going to go around the other side. Handy, I'm going to be another couple minutes, just enjoy the scenery or whatever. Okay, maybe I'm not going in this side. We'll just go back around. All right, good. They're all facing the other way. I guess they're going back to their ant mound. Which, there isn't really an ant mound. There's a big crater in the runway, which I don't know if the airport got bombed or the ants dug up through, but there's no loot, no tunnels you can explore or anything, so unless you want to murder them for XP, there's no point going over there. This transmitter stack is what we're looking for, was once capable of communications over standard aviation frequencies and the Lollipop satellite network. Damaged circuits still have power and are transmitting white noise on multiple bands. You could repair the equipment with science or repair skill of 100 and some scrap electronics, or just turn it off to eliminate the interference. I don't know if there's any advantage to repairing it, and I don't have any scrap electronics anyway, so I'm just going to turn it off. That completes the objective. You can come back and fix it later, but like I say, I don't know if there's any reason to. Maybe it was cut content, or maybe it's for future expansion or something, but I'm just going to take a quick look around the hangar and see if there are any scrap electronics laying around. There's Larry's private jet. And that's just generators and fuel, service carts. Tool cabinets, yeah, that's where they'll be if there are any. Empty. Scrap metal. Well, alright, guess we're not doing that. I don't think I read Stoney's emails on Larry's terminal, but there's this whole conversation about how they reopened the train tunnel after he bought the ranch because of the cost of jet fuel getting so ridiculous during the resource wars, but... Anyway, where are those ants? Alright, they're still all the way down there. Let's get while the getting's good. Alright. Come with me.
It would be my pleasure, Master.
The interference is completely gone. Nice work. I spoke with Larry, and he's going to call back once he rounds up my family. After I talk to them and give my daughter a progress report, I'll be heading deeper into California to find Lost Hills. They print their own money there, so I won't be needing these anymore. Thanks again.
Well, if I don't see you again before you leave, good luck.
Thanks. I'll try to stop by if my return trip brings me this way.
Alright, let's talk to the people in D.C. And the speakerphone in Larry's office works now.
This is Larry Slater. With whom am I speaking?
My name is Jeff. I fixed the comm system.
I'm pleased to make your acquaintance. Dan spoke very highly of you.
Forgive my skepticism, but most people say Larry Slater died 200 years ago.
An interesting dilemma. There's very little about my professional life that couldn't have been learned from public sources by an imposter. Perhaps you could ask something about my home, a detail which could only be known by someone who had been there.
What's on the ceiling above your bed?
A full-length mirror. But anyone familiar with my reputation could have guessed that.
What's on the wall above the desk in your study?
A framed copy of the very first issue of Lollipop's magazine.
Nope, it's empty. Because I already took the magazine. What's in the south wing?
The studio and screening room were common knowledge. Kitchen, dining room, lounge. I entertained guests frequently. I was quite proud of the above-ground wine cellar. Climate-controlled, very expensive.
Anything noteworthy about the dressing room?
There were two. The one for gentlemen was barely more than a closet. The ladies' dressing room was better appointed, but nothing unusual. Dressing tables, a wardromatic. The wardromatic did have custom patterns for a few fetishistic costumes, if you consider that noteworthy.
How many lights are there in the studio?
I don't remember the exact number. 8? Maybe 12? Ceiling mounted, enough that there were no bad angles when we were shooting.
Okay, I'm convinced. You really are Larry Slater.
Excellent. Then perhaps I could interest you in a franchise opportunity.
If you're after a cut, forget it. Not one cap.
In the absence of a nationwide banking system, I suppose I could forego the franchise fee. Are the presses still running?
Yes, I've been meaning to publish a magazine, but I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Excellent. I believe readers in our respective cities would pay handsomely for a glimpse of beauty from the opposite coast. My consul says the hard line between Blue Diamond and the ranch is intact. We could exchange content through the satellite link. What do you say?
Sure, why not? I assume you can set that up remotely?
I believe so. Call me from there and we'll check. I do look forward to seeing the ravishing residents of the Mojave.
All right, back to lollipops. And now, the speakerphone in the basement at Lollipops works.
My consul says this call is coming from Lollipop's Blue Diamond. Excellent.
Sounds like the voice channel is working. What about data?
The bandwidth isn't what I remember, but it's operational. On a completely unrelated topic, I mentioned our communication breakthrough to a colleague of mine, and he had a request we hope he can help with.
Another request already? Am I going to regret hooking this phone up?
Not unless you regret learning the potential location of valuable high-tech loot, because that's what my colleague has in mind.
Okay, what do you need?
He believes there was a pre-war biotech laboratory in your vicinity. If it survived the war, it may hold research data he would find useful. If you agree to send us any pertinent information you might find, I'll transmit the coordinates and an access code for a little used back entrance. As far as what's in it for you, you get to keep anything of value salvaged during the investigation, obviously.
How does a guy in DC get access codes to a lab in New Vegas?
Much of the equipment in my own laboratory was acquired surreptitiously from Vault-Tec. Not all of the file systems were factory reset. Many of Vault-Tec's projects involved research into military applications of biotechnology, but they weren't the only company so tasked. The files on competitors' facilities suggest they engaged in corporate espionage, although my opinion of their integrity is admittedly biased.
All right, I'll take a look.
Excellent. The coordinates and access code should be coming across now. Good luck.
All right, you got to see Dan again, but I will not be needing you for this next bit.
Yes?
Actually, I noticed a couple weeks ago that she has some new dialogue unlocked, and I've always been too busy to follow up on it, but it's driving me nuts, so I'm going to do that now before I forget about it again. Let's talk about your philosophy. Is it Nietzsche or just an S&M fetish?
Before the pit, my fascination with pain was undisciplined. I met someone there who gave me focus. Not many people have the stomach to intentionally inflict suffering, or to experience it. The ones who do are usually psychotic. I'm unique. I take pleasure in suffering, but I also understand rationally why it's essential for survival.
I agreed with her last time, and if you didn't feel pain, you'd never learn not to put your hand on a stove, but suffering doesn't benefit the victims who die.
That's how organic life grows and improves. Dead cells are discarded from the organism. Unproductive organisms are culled from the species. Dead-end species go extinct. Are you saying you're ashamed of being human?
No, being human means you can choose. You can end the cycle, prevent suffering.
And that choice leads us to oblivion. Unless... Wait, I understand. Such ingenious genocidal cruelty. I'm humbled by the scale of it. I apologize.
That's not what I meant. You should talk to Kekata. Knowledge improves us more efficiently than evolution. Well, you should know that. Your stimulus response routing is hosed, but you make up for it with your intellect. Anyway, instructions.
Yes?
I have things to do. Stay here and keep an eye on the business.
We'll make ourselves at home.
All right. Sweetheart? You told me up front you couldn't guarantee you'd be monogamous, and I'm not jealous, but he kills people with his penis. Just saying. Anyway, I need to go home and top up food, water, sleep, and especially ammo before I even think about finding that lab. So I'm going to call it a day, and we'll do that next week. See you then.